everyone happy. Please welcome Denice.
Yay!
Hi. Okay, in case you haven't noticed, I'm doing a fruit basket today. And one of the reasons is fruit baskets are something that people think that just anybody can do. And the difference is, what you're looking at is when I go to the grocery store, I don't buy anything until the day I know I'm going to get the order. But I don't just go and I don't just randomly grab. I'm looking to make sure that you want to eat this piece of fruit. You know, I look and go, okay, that's really pretty, but is it going to taste good? Is it in season? Just because it's there doesn't mean you're going to want to eat it, because it's not necessarily going to be sweet. But I want this to be a really nice reflection of you. So I'm looking at colors, I'm looking at textures, I'm looking at things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily buy for yourself all the time, but are really cool, you know, like a mango, you know, that kind of thing. Well, not everybody is experimental and they're like, a mango, really? And I'm looking at the colors, how these things are going to sit in this basket. Are people going to be able to look at this basket and go, ooh, I want to eat that, ooh, wow. And they're looking at it like this and this and going, ooh, yum. So, the bananas, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get as green as possible, because we all know bananas, whoop, instantly, they are done. So, as you can see, this was pretty quick. I do have paper underneath the shredded tissue because we want cushion. I don't want any of this to be bruised. As it is when I go to the grocery store, I kind of am a little bit of a crank to the lady who's in the front or the guy who's at the front, and if there's somebody at the checker, or the bagger, who I think is going to be abusive, I will say, can you make sure you don't bruise the fruit? Because, you know, it's really important that this looks good. And I know that sounds weird, but notice next time you go to the grocery store, watch what the bagger does with your fruit. All of a sudden, it'll just drop it into the bag. And you're like, oh, where did that bruise come from? That apple didn't have a bruise when I got it. It does now. So, that's why. Now, granted, this is a pretty simple thing. It's already done. I already have everything in. I've already centered it and all that other fun stuff. When this size of a basket is probably going to be probably about 75, maybe a little bit less. It depends on the price of the fruit as I get it. It all depends, because when stuff is in season, it's always going to be a bigger basket, because I do it to the dollar value and still get a variety. So anybody, I should just ask, it might be easier. Anybody have any questions? Not necessarily about fruit. No, okay, yeah.
I do. Is there an appropriate occasion to give a fruit basket for?
Corporate is always good. A lot of times people want to give a fruit basket for sympathy. They don't necessarily want to give flowers because there's usually a million flowers and people don't take care of them. Maybe not necessarily want to give a plant for the same reason. If they know there's going to be a wake going on, they want to help out, help the people with that kind of thing. Sympathy is the #1 reason people give a fruit basket. But corporate gifts is one of those things. I get a customer who has 7, 8 people that he gives a fruit basket to every year. And I have one customer who she gives nothing but fruit baskets or basket gardens, which doesn't make sense. But what it is, what you're looking at is basically I'm almost done, but it's a quick presentation of what you're going to see. Obviously, it's going to be taped and there's going to be a bow on it. This is just fruit. Most places, when you call and you say, I want a fruit basket, they're going to put in crackers and cheese and all sorts of other junk. The reason why that's a big deal, those crackers, those cheese, they cost a lot more. And so what happens is a $75 fruit basket becomes this big. It becomes half the size, because they're not putting in fruit. They're putting in cheese and some no-name cracker that may cost them $3, but they're going to charge you 7 or 8. And that's the way, unfortunately, that retail works. I think we all know most retail works in triples. So what costs $10 has to retail for 30. It's just kind of how it works. But how you get your most out of your money. This, to me, if I go and buy a $75 fruit basket from somebody, I've seen it and I've been very disappointed. I've never been disappointed by my own. I mean, because I know I would want to buy this, and that's how I do my products. I do everything is, would I pay this money for it? Would I put my hard-earned dollars on the table for this flower arrangement, for this fruit basket, for this anything? Now, there's more to it than just this. When I do give a fruit basket, I put a card in the envelope that says, make sure you open it up right away. Because what happens, fruit is it builds up temperature. And what will happen is if it all of a sudden it's very cold, it's in a warm room, it's going to start getting a lot of condensation. And you will very quickly develop problems on the fruit. Now I usually put holes in these to dispense with the excess gas, because the ethylene gas that builds up in here unfortunately will ripen your fruit in a heartbeat. And what these look nice and green, had these by later today, they will be completely yellow if I do not put holes in this. And it sounds okay, sounds, oh, that's a great idea. No, we want this, you have I don't think anyone here has not smelled what fruit doesn't smell good at the end. You have too much fruit together, something in a plastic bag, you're like, whoa, is it even good? I don't want them to open this up and go, wow, something doesn't smell right. I want them to go, oh, this smells fabulous. A little bit of fresh air, little small holes in here, make a big difference. That's something that florists don't do. It's little things like that that I feel set me apart from just any other person you can buy a fruit basket from. Now those edible fruit baskets, I have a real issue with those because somebody else has been touching my cut fruit. That really freaks me out. You know, this is all washable, but that stuff, so that's already cut and supposedly ready to eat. I know you shouldn't say bad things about other things, but never in my life would I buy that. Never in my life would I offer that, because there's so much risk of contamination. There is no risk of contamination. You're going to wash your own fruit. I try to give a nice variety to it. Of course I do, the gourmet baskets and things like that. I do make sure to tell people it will be slightly smaller. Just because if something costs $5 and is only this by this, I have to charge you $15 for it. Now, it's only this by this. It takes up a little tiny spot. It's not so big. Cheeses, beautiful. They sound wonderful. It's just like when florists, when people want to do roses and gardenias for their wedding. Sounds wonderful. Everyone's going to get a headache. You know, there's nothing, you have to understand that just because it sounds pretty doesn't mean you actually want it in there. And the same thing with cheeses. Oh, I want fruits, I want gourmet chocolates, I want cheeses, I want crackers, I want all these things. And then when it comes and it's small, they're like, what's this? What do you mean that is this? That's what you wanted in here. Those things are not showy items. All fruit baskets, granted, I have a customer, what she does is $150 fruit baskets. And I always tell her, are you sure? That's a lot of fruit. That's like 40 pounds of fruit. You know, and I'm delivering this 40 pounds of fruit to this little old lady who had a broken hip, and I'm like, wow, you got friends? You got staff? You got someone to help you eat all this stuff? Because there's no way they're going to eat all that fruit. That's one of the reasons I try and get a variety. I try and get stuff that's not too ripe. I try and get stuff that's in between. So when you may be able to eat the apples right now, you'll have to wait a couple days for the pears, and you have to put the peaches in a bag, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm always open to doing any kind of basket you need. Like I said, whether it is fruit or gourmet or something like what Ashish did, which he had his own stuff that he got, and it was all dried goods. Those work great in a basket. So that is that. That's me. I am Denice, Calabasas Flowers, and if you are looking to send something like this, please give me a call.